Hey everybody, it's Rory from A&S Gear, and today we're going to learn how to do some general maintenance on your paintball markers. All right guys, so we are looking at a KP3. We've had some people ask about reg maintenance. They've had some leaks in their reg. So we're going to pull a reg apart real quick, show you what would need to be changed or replaced or to be looked at. If you happen to have a white bodied KP3, the white powder coating on them tends to flake really easy, and that can get inside the regulator. So if you have a white one that is leaking, it could be that it's just dirty on the inside there and needs to be just cleaned. So let's pull this one apart. I've pulled the macro fitting out and I've just unscrewed the regulator off of the gun. I'm now going to loosen this set screw on the side. We can pull it all the way out if you want. I'm going to take it off there. At that point, I can unscrew this. If you have a leak at the very top, I like the vertical ASA, like right here, then this O-ring would be the problem right there. If you have a leak coming through the top part of the regulator, the top body, through this little tiny hole, I guess it could also be coming out of the set screw hole, but it most likely is going to come out of that hole right there. Then your reg piston O-ring needs to be changed. So this O-ring right here would need to be serviced or changed. That's not the only reason that that would leak through that hole, but it is a more common reason. If you have a swivel leak, so this swivel can rotate back and forth around here. So if it's having a leak from, if this is together, like that, if you're having a leak from this area right here, then underneath the swivel are two O-rings. Come back here. You can see them here and here. Those two O-rings, you would need to replace those two that are right there. There's also another O-ring that sits inside this top piece right here, and you would only be able to get that out with a pick. Let me show you what that looks like. So that's the O-ring that's down inside there, and when the piston, which is up inside this piece right here, so it's sitting up inside that reg body right there, when it comes through here, it goes in through this hole like that, goes in through there. It needs to seal, and it goes through this O-ring, and this is what seals the lower section of the piston and I should just say the lower section of the piston. This O-ring seals the top section of the piston. So if this O-ring is bad and air is able to get past it up this way, it can leak through that hole. Or if air, if it's this O-ring is bad, air can get past it this way and leak through that hole. So those two culprits right there would be a good indicator of a leak through here. Let's get this off of here. Of course, that's not going to work. Gotta get that snap ring out of there. So the regulator adjustment is right here. This will let us bring this all the way out. If you get a leak through the bottom, like coming out the bottom of the regulator, this right here would be the problem. And if you have problems with the regulator, like overcharging, shoot down, supercharging, things like that, the piston reg seat, which is right there, that red seat, would need to be replaced. Now, I don't believe that the piston seat itself, the reg seat, is replaceable as a single piece. I don't think you can just replace that. You would need to replace the whole adjuster here. But this is where the piston comes down and it pushes up against that seat, and that's what seals when it comes down there. So if you're not getting a good seal down here, the regulator won't function properly. Not just leak, but it won't regulate air properly, and then you'll get all sorts of funky issues going on right there. So regulators are very simple. That's it inside here. The only O-ring that's actually inside this piece is this one that sits inside this top section. and you're only going to get that out with a pick. There's no way you can get your fingers in there, an Allen key in there, anything. You need a pick to get that out. O-ring, one O-ring on the adjustment right here. If you get a leak out the bottom, that O-ring. You get a leak from the swivel, those two O-rings. If you're getting a leak through the side of this body right here, it's either that O-ring that's inside here or the piston O-ring at the top. And if you're getting a leak at the top of the regulator where it connects with the vertical ASA, then that O-ring right there. Pretty simple, very straightforward setups. It's, very easy to troubleshoot them. It could just be that they're dirty. The white one, like I said, on those white KP3s, you have to clean them because that white, when you're screwing these two things together, that white paint is going to get everywhere. One other thing that I see pretty regularly with KP3s is people send them in or they bring them in for service or whatever they're doing with them. All the time they send them in and the swivels don't work. And they always are like, my swivel, it doesn't swivel anymore. I can't make it work. How do I get it to work? And I'll show you what causes that problem as soon as I get this O-ring in here. There we go. So first thing I'm going to do to put this back together, I'm going to put my adjuster in. I'm going to go to where it bottoms out. I'm not going to over tighten it, and I'm going to come 3 turns out, 3 full turns. So 1, 2, 3. And that's typically where they're set about from factory right there. I'm going to put my upper piston in place. I'm going to put my swivel back on, and then I'm going to screw this together. Now if I screw this all the way down to where it stops like that, at this point my swivel will not turn. It just physically is stuck on there. Unless I actually am undoing this bottom section, the swivel will turn, but I cannot rotate this swivel by itself. So what I have to do is the upper section, I'm going to back it off just a little bit. Like this is where it's snugged up. I'm going to turn it back just that far, and I'm going to put the screw in, and then I'm going to check it. So I'm going to screw this all the way down tight, and then I'm going to check the swivel. I'm going to try to spin it all the way around. It gets to the point right about there where it starts to get a little tight, but it does make it all the way around. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to undo this a little bit. I'm going to rotate just a hair further, and then I'm going to tighten it down. And then I'm going to check my swivel. There you go. Right there, you want to make sure our swivel is all the way around, and that really will determine, is determined by the set screw here, depending on where it is in there. Once we get that to the point where it can swivel easily, we'll put our snap ring back in, our C-ring. And all this does is this ring on the bottom, it is not necessary for the function of the regulator. All this does is keep the adjuster from able to come out the bottom of the regulator. If you back this thing up, adjust the velocity all the way out, you could, if that ring wasn't there, get to the point where it just comes out. And so by putting the ring in, it can't. From that point there, we would just screw it back on, all the way up, get our macro line, connect it together, and there we go. Maintenance on a KP3 inline regulator, and that goes for a lot of Azodin regulators. They're all going to kind of be the same way.